our third station will be about the extensor compartment of the forearm. As we said, this is the elbow joint, this is the lateral epicondyle, this is the dorsum of the hand for more orientation. Our first muscle, which is this one. This muscle. This is called Brachioradialis muscle. The Brachioradialis muscle arises from the lateral supracondylar ridge and is inserted in the styloid process of the radius. It ends here, styloid process of the radius. Okay, it is one of the extensor compartment because it is innervated by branch from the radial nerve. All the extensor compartments is innervated by the radial nerve branches. But regarding its function, it is a flexor of the elbow joint. It's mainly the flexor of the elbow joint at the mid-prone position. It is the powerful flexor at that position. Okay, this is our first muscle called brachioradialis. Immediately next to it, this one is the extensor carpi. Again, the extensor carpi radialis longus arises from the lateral supracondylar ridge above the elbow joint. The extensor carpi radialis longus inserts into the base of the second metatarsal bone. Okay, this is the tendon of the extensor carpi radialis longus, inserts into the base of the second metatarsal bone. Okay, immediately below this muscle is this one. It's called extensor carpi radialis brevis. As you can see, the two extensor carpi runs together. The extensor carpi radialis brevis insert in the third metatarsal metacarpal bone, in the base of the third metacarpal bone. Okay, the origin of this muscle, extensor carpi radialis brevis, is from the common extensor origin. The common extensor origin is the lateral epicondyle. The first muscle to arise from the common extensor origin is the extensor carpi radialis longus. Okay, regarding the brachioradialis and the extensor carpi radialis longus are innervated by branches of the radial above the elbow joint. Brachioradialis and extensor carpi radialis longus innervated by branches of the radius above the elbow. The extensor carpi radialis brevis get its innervation from the posterior interosseous nerve at the cubital fossa. Okay, the two extensor carpi radialis muscles extend the wrist joint and abduct. Extend and abduct or lateral deviate the wrist joint. Okay. To continue on the superficial group of muscles, the next muscle is this one, and it is called the extensor digitorum. The extensor digitorum originates from the common extensor origin at the lateral epicondyle. Its tendon then bifurcate into 4 lips, one for each digit of the medial digits. Okay, the insertion in the digit is called the extensor expansion. We will see it in the next practical, but for now, this is the muscle extensor digitorum, and those are the tendon of the extensor digitorum. Okay, following in the superficial group of the extensor muscles, this one, it is adherent to the previous muscle. It's called extensor digiti minimi. This one is the extensor digiti minimi. and this is the tendon of the extensor digiti minimi. This is the tendon of the extensor digiti minimi. It insert in the extensor expansion of the fifth digit and originate from the common extensor origin. Our last muscle, our next muscle in the superficial group, this one is called extensor carpi ulnaris. The extensor carpi ulnaris originate from the common extensor origin, and it insert in the base of the fifth metacarpal bone. Okay, here, right? All those muscles, as we said, get their innervation from the posterior interosseous nerve, which is a branch from the radial. The muscles that originate from the common extensor origin, again, they are extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor digitorum, extensor digiti minimi, extensor carpi ulnaris. Right? The extensor carpi ulnaris has got the function of extension of the wrist and ulnar deviation of the wrist joint. Okay. Our last muscle in the superficial group is this one. This one called Anconas Muscle. The Anconas Muscle originates from the posterior aspect of the lateral epicondyle and insert in the olecranon process and the shaft of the ulna. This is Anconas. The Anconas get their innervation by a branch from the radial nerve from the radial groove. Okay. So those are the superficial muscles of the extensor compartment. Brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor digitorum, extensor digiti minimi, extensor carpi ulnaris, and Anconas. Those are the superficial group of muscles. The deep group of muscles of the extensor compartment, our first one is this one. This muscle is the supinator muscle. The supinator muscle originates from the medial epicondyle and takes an origin from the supinator crest of the ulna to be inserted in the lateral aspect of the shaft of the radius between the two oblique lines. The supinator muscle supinate the forearm and weak flexure of the elbow joint. So this one is the supinator muscle. Its innervation is from the posterior interosseous muscle. It has got two heads. Between them emerges the posterior interosseous branch of the radial nerve. Okay, it has got a relation with the radial nerve. Okay, our next muscle in the deep, so those are the superficial. If we retracted them, we will see the deep group of muscle. Our first one is this one, that its tendon passes to the base of the first metacarpal bone, this one. This one is called Abductor Pollicis longus. It's called Abductor Pollicis longus. The Abductor Pollicis longus takes an origin from the radius, the ulna, and the intervening interosseous membrane. So it takes an origin from both bones and to be inserted into the base of the first metacarpal bone. It extends the carpo-metacarpal joint. The muscle immediately next to it, this one is called Extensor Pollicis brevis. It is extensor in the extensor compartment and for the thumb, so it is pollicis, and because it terminates in the base of the proximal phalanx, It is called extensor pollicis brevis. So the extensor pollicis brevis takes an origin from the radius and the interosseous membrane and terminate in the base of the proximal phalanx. Okay. Our next muscle in the group is this one, this muscle. As you can see, its tendon is this one. This is the tendon. Okay, it is called extensor pollicis longus. The extensor pollicis longus takes an origin from the ulna and terminate in the base of the distal phalanx of the thumb. Okay, so its action is to extend distal, the distal phalanx, and to extend the metacarpophalangeal joint and the carbometacarpal joint. Okay. Our last muscle in the extensor compartment is this one, which is its tendon passes to the index. It is called extensor indices. The extensor indices takes an origin again from the ulna and passes to the extensor expansion of the index. Okay. By this, we finished the deep muscles of the extensor compartment. Let's say them again. This is supinator. This is abductor pollicis longus. This is extensor pollicis brevis. This is extensor pollicis longus, and this is extensor indices. Okay. So, in conclusion, the extensor compartment of the forearm has got 12 muscles. Its innervation comes from the radial nerve and its branches, and its main function is extension. That's all for this station.